Welcome to Connected Success with me, Ashley Owens, 12:30, 1 o'clock on Thursdays during your lunch break, where we talk to the power connectors in the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. I am Ashley Owens. I'm a networking concierge, and I have the pleasure and the privilege to be interviewing... Who am I interviewing?
Meg Collier.
Meg Collier. So you and I met through, so you and I met through our mutual friend, Sarah Rosenberg from Power Match.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Power Match, again, just a plug for Power Match because they're awesome. It's a company that matches up like-minded individuals to cross-promote and to collaborate, and you get to meet without actually having to go to an event. So it's really
Sounds
great.
amazing.
Which is great for if you're like, I don't need to put on pants today. I can take a phone call. I'm good. But it's really nice because you can be more intentional about the people that you network with.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to tell people who you are, what you do, what makes you awesome, and you have a really interesting business where you're working with both life clients, like people who need life coaching, and then you work with business coaches.
Yeah,
I'm excited to hear about what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started coaching in 2017 when I launched Rising Together Coaching, and it was really my mission and purpose to help people shine brighter in their lives and businesses.
Wow.
So I had been through some major life hurdles myself. I'd been through some business hurdles myself, but failing businesses, closing them down, multi-passionate entrepreneur trying to find her space in the world. Yeah. And I had to lean on the help of many professionals, acupuncturists, coaches, business coaches, therapists, regular doctors, to help me shine brighter in the world. Right. And once I felt what that felt like and knew that possibility of what I could create in the world, I just knew that this was my calling. Like, it was so loud and clear. So in 2018, I sold all my things. I traveled across the country.
Holy cow.
I started a podcast called Rising Together, which documents human stories of resilience, of people rising from the ashes.
Wow.
I didn't make it all the way across the country. I made it to St. Louis, New Orleans, and then came back unceremoniously to Philadelphia. And I spent the next year really digging my heels in to make my coaching practice what I wanted it to be.
And what do you want it to be?
I want it to be a refuge for people that are overwhelmed, that are lost, that are healing their hearts, but also feel a great calling, to help them navigate the peaks and valleys of business while simultaneously cultivating peace and balance.
Oh, geez. How does that even look like?
How do you hold both?
Yeah.
How do you entertain the tension of opposites?
Right.
Right. Actually, that's the episode we just launched on the podcast last week. It was all about talking about the tension of opposites. So
talk about that. That's very interesting. What did you learn from that podcast?
From that episode specifically, so in August, I did a blog project called 34 Lessons, and I did a blog post a day for 34 days. Oh, wow. And I have turned those episodes into podcast episodes. Brilliant. So 2 episodes a month, I'm repurposing these posts. So it was really a story about how I had to learn what it meant to be loyal, but also have strong boundaries.
Interesting. So,
right?
Okay, so talk
what it
about
meant to be integrous, but still care for myself. And so that means that you have to entertain the ability to hold both, like that both can exist, that you could be happy and sad at the same time, that you could feel empathy and resentment in the same breath.
How do you navigate those two very different and opposite emotions at once?
Yeah. Heaping doses of self-compassion.
Oh, geez. I thought you meant drugs. Great.
No.
Good. Making sure we're on the same page. Perfect.
Yeah. No, heaping doses of self-compassion.
Okay, great. Nope, not alcohol.
Yeah, no, not today anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's about understanding that you can't always go. Yeah. That the nature of the world that we live in is not the pace that our bodies, like our animalistic bodies, are meant to live in.
Interesting. Okay, go more into that, because that's interesting about how, like, you know, everyone, the mentality of the work ethic in the United States is like, you work through your lunch break, you work you don't give your body a rest, and the only time you rest is when you crash or burn. Right. You know, so what's the difference between, and how do you manage that?
So I'm a recovering type A overachiever. Yeah. I'm a workaholic. Yeah. And what I found through 13 years of being in corporate America was that I just saw everybody around me, for the most part, miserable. And I was in the media industry in Philadelphia for 7 years. And so talk about
miserable.
You know, people that are just ailing and in misery and hurting, and like numbing that out with like whatever inebriant is at hand. And I get it, right? And it just felt, you know, misaligned for me, like something had to give on that. And so I think what it requires us to do is show up for ourselves in bigger ways. And so this really comes to like facing what patterns or what storylines like you've projected onto your experience, right? So like if you're perpetually telling a story that like, you know, bad things always happen to you or nothing ever goes your way, I mean, your focus on that grows and you see more of that in your life. And I think the pace at which we live, the social media age with we live, where we're all connected, it actually disconnects us even more.
I've heard that term before. It's really, it's such a statement that rings true no matter what. We're so connected and it sincerely disconnects us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think comparison is the thief of joy. And so that over and over again is what we're plagued with in this disconnected, overly connected world where we're always going, we're always on, and there's always something to consume.
So when somebody calls you and they are working through a problem, or they're calling you because they're stuck, or they're calling you because they're trying to figure out this balance, what can they expect working from you? Working with you, excuse me.
It really depends on what they're coming to me for. So if they're coming to me for business coaching, I run a mastermind right now called Beacon Biz Builders.
Great.
We meet twice a month. We're really holding each other accountable, planning together, and masterminding, that idea of like having like-minded people in your corner to get clear, to learn from, to expedite your learning along the path. And then for life coaching and business coaching, I work with people primarily in a one-on-one setting over a 3-month period of time.
Yep, gotta have the honeymoon period.
So they can come in and expect to really have clarity on like what's not working, where things need to change, and also like creatively brainstorm without any limitations, right? Like we often keep our brainstorming about what's possible in our life to how much money we have in our bank account right now, or who supports us right now in front, like that we can see. And so what I'm entertaining my clients to do is to push the limits of what is possible, to entertain a vision of what it could be like to sit on the other side of their stuckness.
Where did you get the clarity?
My own clarity? I've been on a spiritual awakening journey for the last 10 years. I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, so I'm super local. And at a very young age, I started losing a lot of friends to overdoses, suicide, and it hurt my heart, it ailed me. And so I think I was an empath from a really young age, and I didn't know how to cope with that. So fast forward to my 20s, I got into law of attraction. I was like, I'm gonna build a badass business. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. Let me figure this out. What I came to know is that before you ever unleash anything into the world, you gotta heal yourself and you gotta heal your heart. And any coach or any consultant or anyone out there who's trying to guide and mentor somebody to unleash their greatness into the world has to show up to do that work for themselves internally. And that's what I was faced with. I launched my business originally in 2015, and it wasn't until 2017 that it took off because I needed to do that inner work. And it's that old adage of like, heal or heal thyself, because I feel like the work that I do is really a modality of healing. I'm not a therapist. I don't provide people answers. I don't grow people's bottom lines. That's not my zone of genius, but I do help people find their like intrinsic self-value. Like the self-love is more priceless than any marketing plan, any consultant you can hire, because it will sustain you when no one else is around.
It's working for you when you're long and gone. So as you are working with your clients and they can expect that kind of, not the bottom line taken care of, but just the self-healing and the self-love, and I'm not struggling to ask the question, it's more if I'm trying to frame it in a way that is it's pertinent to the conversation. How do you manage somebody who may not understand the value of self-love? They know that they need it, and they go through the 3 months with you, and for some reason it hasn't clicked yet, or like, how do you, because especially with business, it's you hold it so close to the chest, it feels like a child, it feels like your baby. And so sometimes that business is usually that person. So where it's easier to focus on what's wrong in the business without actually focusing on what's wrong with you. And that wrong could just be a different balance of energy. So how would you coach somebody around who is focusing all their time on their business, but the real issue is the lack of self-love they have for themselves?
2 words, real talk.
And
that's what I bring to the table. So actually one of the episodes that we do in the Rising Together podcast each month is called Real Talk, and it dropped today. So you can check that out. We're talking all about connecting with your intuition. But really, what this is about is like, and I think this is my superpower, is like to be able to come with a compassionate, sensitive, listening ear and an open heart, and then also hold a very sacred mirror up from someone and be like, this is what I see being reflected back to me. Is that what you see? And like working to break down these walls that they've built up in slow and intentional ways through conversation. I think coaching, just like sales, is all about deeper relationship development and like doing our own work. So I say if your therapist doesn't have a therapist and your coach doesn't have a coach, you might want to look elsewhere, because that really it's an investment. I don't think we can do work where we're networking with other people or a professing professional or personal development without showing up for that work ourselves. And so that's a huge part of our mastermind as well. Like we theme out challenges every month. And the challenge for March is self-care, because we've all been going 100 miles an hour for 2 months. Because pushing and launching, and then it's like, whoa, when did, and self-care is not all like pedicures and bath bombs either, right? Real talk right there. Real talk. It's like literally hitting the snooze button. It's like not picking up a phone call because you don't want to invite that chaos and energy into your life. It's about choosing what is your highest level of joy, satisfaction, and fulfillment.
What if you don't know what gives you joy? What if you're, and I'm asking this as far as like when it comes to working it with a business professional, sometimes you're going so hard. And that joy gets lost because you're just so focused on sustaining income, sustaining the vision, like working for yourself, working for somebody else. How do you navigate them through that?
Yeah, I think it's really important for anybody who's in business or who is in a creative or who's self-employed to build in digital sabbaticals or just a sabbatical where you log off for a period of time from all the internets, all the websites, all, like close your 47 tabs and don't answer your email for a week.
Wow.
It's terrifying because what that's going to ask that entrepreneur, that self-employed person to do is come face to face with what's going on inside. And that's the big work.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, when we return, I'm going to go through more therapy with Miss Megan here. When we come back, we're going to learn about what brings me joy and happiness in the world. So just kidding. When we come back, we'll learn more about her tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking, how she manages those expectations and that balance, and just more on how to make you a better person, because clearly I need more therapy. We'll be back. Thanks so much.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind the scenes footage, previews, and more.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
We're back. We're doing things. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm Ashley Owens. This is Meg. She's here hanging out with me, talking about self-love, self-care, and all around the coaching that every entrepreneur needs, I think, as far as I'm concerned around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like sex, drugs, and alcohol, and finances, and politics, and religion, they're all very sensitive topics. I feel like because it's so incredibly challenging to start a business, to run a business, that it's just as challenging to say that there's a problem, right? Especially in your mental health, whatever it may be, it's almost just as sensitive. How do you network with people and find, or at least ask the right questions to maybe say like, hey, we may need to talk more, because I feel like there's something there that you're missing. How do you professionally ask those questions to like qualify a person that could potentially be a client?
Well, first and foremost, nobody ever wants to come to talk to a coach about like their
Sad.
problems
Yeah.
or sad or vulnerability.
Right,
They
yeah.
come because they want to increase their revenues or they
Right.
want to facilitate the transformation that they're already in, right? So like if I walk into a networking event and tell people that I'm just a coach, what type of coach? And then we kind of go into it and develop it from there. Just conversations of me trying to get a sense of where somebody is just, it's really just active listening.
Right.
It's listening with an ear that's like, I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to check my ego and put it on the back burner for a second so I don't feel like I need to respond right this moment. And then in that active listening, asking another curiosity question. And I think there's difference between curiosity questions and clarifying questions. And that's really, really important because curiosity says, tell me more about that. And clarity says, I don't really understand that. Can you explain it to me? And I think it's important to have both because people reveal different pieces of information with the different types of questions that you ask.
Right, and those active listening and those clarity and qualifying questions, so clarifying and
Clarifying and curiosity.
Curiosity, excuse me, have been. It's so interesting because you're right. Because I will ask a lot of curiosity questions.
Yeah.
Clarifying questions come when I really don't understand something. When I really, especially those come with more of my clients.
Yeah.
But when you are, so are you part of any networking groups or organizations?
Well,
'Cause
I'm
did you
going to
just-
be a power match networking.
So did you just move back to
Yeah, so
Philadelphia?
I just moved back
That's
to
what I was
Philadelphia,
saying, yeah.
and like the last 5 years, I've been working remotely as a contracted coach, and then was like freelancing in different places.
That's
so
awesome.
my networking kind of went on the back burner because I've been working online, which is why Power Match, plug intended, is so fun. Or I'm anticipating it to be as a new member. But because I was so embedded into that online world, I didn't go to personal networking. So funny story really quick about networking.
Take your time,
The way I connected to you was from my first networking event that I've gone to in January this year. Wait, I'll tell you. It's like, this is how networking magic works.
Okay, I'm
with
excited.
Megan. So
Magic with Megan.
Magic with Megan. It's literally my shtick.
I love it.
So I had gone to a BNI network meeting out in Lower Marion, on the main line.
Bougie.
And I had an invite, and the person who invited me wasn't able to make it. They had fallen ill. So I went in, and I had never been to a networking event like BNI. University networking events, like creative networking events, way different vibe.
This is very structured.
Yes.
It's like cult. It's like a cult. Sorry. They're very good for most
We're
industries.
great. Yeah, it
They're
works
very
for a
good.
lot of local, small,
and I will
mid-sized
refer you
business.
it. I will absolutely refer it to a lot of people. There's a great opportunity. It's just a little culty for me. That's fine.
I stuck out like a sore thumb in there. I mean, have you seen me? I have a very unique look to me. I have a very bright personality. My energy is like enthusiastic, right? So they didn't know what to do with me in there because I walked up to every single person and was like, hey, I'm Meg. Hey, I'm Meg. Or when it got like sometimes people just say inappropriate things at networking events.
Yes,
and
they
you're
do.
like, how do you respond to that? Like, my inner feminist is about to go wild on you. And like, I had all of these experiences come up in that one networking event where I was like, okay, I know how to pitch myself. I feel confident talking in front of a group, but I need to find my people. Right? I think you've said it before, like your group of weirdos.
Group of weirdos,
And it was like when I talked to you and when I talked to Sarah for the first time on the phone, I was like, oh yeah, I found my people. But they're also local to me because I think as a remote business coach, I really crave that one-on-one energy. So I now am working with a few clients locally, one-on-one, in face-to-face capacities as well.
And that's the thing, is that you're intentionally working with what strengths that you have. You triple down on it. You can go into a room, you can go and make it work. You can, but what events and what groups are you going to spend the most time with? And like the lesson learned here, I definitely think, is you take the time to shop around.
Absolutely.
Again, we're just crashing on being. It's not a bad group. It's just not the right for some of us. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the way that they run it. It's not necessarily the way that I enjoy, but it works for a lot of great people, and the people that come out of it are fantastic people that I refer anyway. So, but the intention behind where you're looking has to come from, I think, a top three places. It would be who's in the room, obviously, who's your audience, how is it run? You can usually tell a networking event or a networking organization and their validity based off of how it's run. If there's an agenda involved, that's great. If there is a speaker involved, even better.
Yeah.
If there is a roundtable discussion, even better, because there is a flow. It's not just show up and have your business cards.
Right.
It's more
It's
of
not a
your
mingle.
It's not a mingle. Business card exchange, all that crap. But I because the intention behind it is you're not going there to just do no one. Don't
Right,
go
you're
in
not there
to
to
sell.
cold
No one's
pitch cold
buying.
people.
No
like
one's buying.
it's like when people put an ad up on the internet that like goes right to like a sales page, and I'm like, do you guys think that this is like a really great way to develop strong relationships in your business? Like you just are like. It's like you're out on the corner like hawking candy bars or something.
Or you're going to kidnap me and put me in a
Yeah.
corner. It's going to be bad.
I think that BNI was a great eye opener for me
It's
of
a
where I
different level.
belong,
Yeah,
of where I belong.
yeah.
But like also the people that were in there were like sharp.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh,
This is what it is.
These
yeah.
are the type of people I want to be around.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, nothing is ever good or bad. My husband says this to me all the time. It's like a lesson, right? It's
yeah.
really just like you take and distill what you can.
Cherry pick from
it.
people around you that are better or have different viewpoints that
Yeah.
you want to acquire, and you just mesh it in. I used to be, I think that's why we get along so well, because we're super creative, but I used to be an actor a long, long time ago. And I was only good at improv because I would be able to, or at least I would enjoy picking up on different people's mannerisms. And I basically all the people that I created in my head to perform were just picking from different people, like how they move their mouth, how this person talked, whatever it may have been, and just emulated that and created a very unoriginal person. It was just a mishmash of people.
Right.
And so when it comes to networking or it comes to people that you want to surround yourself with, you cherry pick from the things like this person has a skill set and has a viewpoint that I really like and I don't understand yet, but I want to be around.
Yeah.
And you just, by osmosis, you're like, just hang out with me, I just want to play with you. I just want to learn. But that also takes a different kind of personality, somebody who doesn't have the ego. They check their ego out the door. So BNI wasn't the right fit for you. We just had before you came on, we had a woman, her name is Cami Lehman, and she runs Polka Dot Powerhouse, and it's a very sorority type of pink thing that I went in the first time. I was like, this is a little intense for me, but it was the best, and it was at that time when I was extremely vulnerable and figuring out where I wanted to be. It was the perfect group for me to go to, the perfect pick me up, and it was the perfect space, and I've made incredible, friendships out of it. So depending on where you are in your head and where you are in your business could actually change the location and the events that you go to or the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah,
So that's what I love about your mastermind group is because you're bringing people together in that space, educating and having the accountability, and then bridging it into the next, to help them grow into the next step.
Yeah, and people are at all different legs of the journey. And this is the thing I want to say about coaching too, because I think there is this stigma out there about business coaching and life coaching in general right now that there's a big money grab on the table. Like people are building, it almost feels like an MLM anymore, where it's like, I can get you this 6 figures and maybe you can get this 10K. And I think that there is so much more that people need to be supported around. And that's about doing the inner work so that they can shine brighter. And so not everybody's going to come to me for that work. So I also offer like my marketing background, right? I was in marketing for 11 years. So that's where the holistic business approach comes for me.
Right.
Because just like corporations don't treat people like whole people, they're just what they're there for 8 hours. Many like entrepreneurs to one another and to themselves don't look at the holistic nature of their business and how their business is affecting their relationships or how their codependency is coming and sneaking into their business. These are big things that, not just women either, like men and women both experience, especially as entrepreneurs. And the mental health factor for entrepreneurs is like huge. I lost one of my mentors and business mentors over the years to suicide this past year. And that was one of the big drivers for me to like stop sitting on my freaking laurels, right? Because nothing is guaranteed. And what my friend Ruben said in a video that I found on his Instagram was like, the world needs your work. The world needs your work. And the more that you keep it inside of you is the more you will be tormented by your own indecision, right? So like the call, the light that I'm summoning out of people is the one that they've been getting this whisper to shine. And what they end up in the end might not be what they started out on the beginning, but the reward is in the journey.
Okay.
Do you want to hold hands?
I do. Do me a favor. Look into that camera and tell people how they can find you. that one.
You can find me at togetherinrising.com, or you can get the Rising Together podcast at anchor.fm/risingtogether.
All right, everybody. I feel like I just went through therapy.
Just big deep breaths.
I just did big deep
stretch it
breaths.
out.
Okay, thank you. Oh, God. All right, well, I got to take a nap now. Thank you, everybody, for watching Connect to Success. This was a networking show, and I just got a full session from you. We're not even going to talk about networking anymore. This is great. Please make sure you check out Meg and her, what's your website?
Togetherinrising.com.
Togetherinrising.com. Reach out to her if you're stuck in your business, if you feel like you don't have those balances, like reach out to her, because I feel incredibly overwhelmed and wonderfully worked out. I feel like I'm sore. My brain
soul
is
medicine,
sore.
girl.
So great. Make sure you follow Meg on all of her Facebook, Instagram. I'm sure you've got a bunch of other things. But if anybody wants to be a guest on the show and they can top her, please come on the show. Ashley at ashleysys.com. Let me know. This is Connected Success on RVN TV, where we talk to the power networkers of the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.